All right, hello everyone, and welcome to the Office 365 Tips and Tricks webinar brought to you by the Marks Group. Today we're going to be talking about three different topics. First, we're going to talk about the security and compliance section in Office 365 a little bit, specifically auditing user and administrative activity from Office 365. Next, we're going to talk about the new Skype / Microsoft Teams Admin Center. We'll talk about how to get to that, what kind of information it shows you, all that good stuff. And then finally, we're going to talk about determining how your organization will be upgrading from Skype to Teams, because don't forget, Skype is actually being replaced with Teams over time. So I know it's easy to forget that, but it is happening. I have a couple of links to some articles on Microsoft on the blog post that might be helpful if you want to learn more about that as well. All right, so let's get started. First, audit user and admin activity from Office 365. So if we head over to the security and compliance section, this can be found under your apps. And then after that, we're going to head over to search and investigation. And we'll just click the audit log search. There is quite a lot that you can search from here. So I couldn't really go into it fully in the blog post, but you can see this huge list of all sorts of different kinds of activities. There are like site administrative activities, a lot with SharePoint, although it doesn't explicitly call it SharePoint, but like folder activities, stuff like that. You can view Sway activities, Exchange mailbox activities. Dynamics is in here as well. Roles and other administrative activities. Azure AD group admin activities. So much. Power BI. So you can, and Microsoft Teams. You can scroll through the full list in here and check out all of the activities that you can search for. I'm just going to leave that as is so we see everything, and just to show you what this looks like, I'm going to go back in time a bit to May 1st to June 1st. And let's say you can search for any user on here. I'm only going to search for myself. And then you can also specify part of a folder, file, or site. And it's just part, you don't have to put in the full URL, although you could, but just part of that file name works as well. You can find out, for example, as it says up here, you can find out if someone reset someone's password or deleted a document. So much. So we have a huge list here. You can view, it has like the activity category, so to speak, has the specific user, their IP address, the specific item that they were working with. I'll just move I have a little control panel here. Yeah, and then the detail column is there, although it doesn't always have data. There's a SharePoint thing in here. That's the item that we see. And I think these are probably Dynamics activities. So it's assigned to Teams. So you can see so much from here. And as I said, you can get pretty specific with the activity type. I just searched for everything. Accessed file, there's all sorts of activities on here. It does not, it doesn't do like a page by page log. If like when you're in Dynamics, for example, it's not going to track every single little thing that you're doing, but I'll just show you, for example, the Dynamics activities. I think it's okay, here we go. accessed out-of-the-box entity, preferred bulk actions, like a big bulk delete or a mass import, accessed custom entity or another type of entity signed in or out, access the admin center, activated a process or plugin. So there are quite a few different activities that it's tracking in here, tons of Teams activities. So this is really helpful for, just compliance purposes, or if you needed to see who deleted something, or as it says here, who reset someone's password. That's very helpful as well. So once again, to get to here, you click on the Security and Compliance app. It looks like if you go into All Apps, it has a little shield here. So you would click on that, and then let's exit out of that. And then it's under Search and Investigation, then Audit Log Search. That's where you can get to this search page. Okay. So next I'm going to go over to the new Skype and Microsoft Teams Admin Center from Office 365. So I'll just go home. Oh, sorry, that's the Security and Compliance home. We'll go back into here. We'll go to the admin portal. And then we're going to head into, oh, sorry about that. We are going to head into settings and then services and add-ins, this first link here. So it has all sorts of services and add-ins that you can access settings for, but I'm just going to head into the Microsoft Teams settings section. And you're probably used to this kind of pop-up sidebar window thing showing up. But you will see a important link. It says that the admin settings are moving to the new admin center. So the only reason I came to this old settings page is that some settings are still on here. They haven't been migrated over. However, some have. So I just wanted to, and this is an easy way to get to that link. Although I believe the link is actually admin.teams.microsoft.com. So that's all you need to know when you're logged in to the portal already. You can just go to admin.teams.microsoft.com and you will get to this. There are some helpful help articles in admin training. If you're not super familiar with Teams, that can be helpful. And this just expands or hides the menu here. You can access your users from here, your messaging policies, org-wide settings like external and guest access and how you upgrade. I'll talk about that more in a second. And some legacy Skype portal information like call qualities and the Skype legacy portal here. So you can access all of these things from here. Messaging policies, this is helpful if, for example, you had an organization where you had, say it's a school, and you don't want to allow students to be able to chat with each other, but you do want to allow teachers to chat with each other. One way you could manage that is by setting up a messaging policy. I have a test no chat up in here, and you just have to turn off chat for that. You can also turn off some other things like using Giphy and change the content rating and stuff. But if you were to disable chat for this, it would be a different messaging policy than the global one, and you can have multiple different messaging policies. And then when you go into your user section, you can apply a specific messaging policy to specific users. So this is really, like I said, this would be helpful for a student-teacher situation. You don't want to allow students, but you do want to allow teachers to chat. So you would just set that messaging policy here. But I digress. I just wanted to point that out because I think it's a nifty feature. Okay. And as I said, you can access external access and guest access settings from here. There are a couple of settings that have not yet migrated over, but it'll tell you, like this messaging, it says it has moved. If it hasn't moved, you can still get to it from here. Ultimately, though, all of the Teams settings will be managed from this admin center specifically for Teams and Skype. All right, so I'm moving on to my third topic, which is actually the fact that Skype and Teams are becoming one and the same, or I should say Skype is being replaced with Teams over time, but the functionality of Skype will be integrated into Teams via updates over time, so it's a little bit more familiar, but it is changing. So, and there's a lot more to Teams than there is to Skype. So that's just something to be aware of. As I mentioned in the beginning of the webinar, we do have links to some additional articles on Microsoft on the blog post. Feel free to access that. But okay, let's go back to this admin center. And then under org-wide settings, there's this Teams upgrade page. And then you're going to see what's called Coexistence Mode, a setting for that. There is a little help button link here, and it kind of goes into the explanation of it. I think I have a linked better. Yeah, understanding coexistence and upgrade journey. This first link dives into more detail on what coexistence mode means specifically. And depending on your organization, you might see a third option. I can't remember exactly what it is though. It's yeah, you might see a Teams only mode. We don't see that though in Mark's group. So you might see a third option, you might not, but regardless, Islands is the kind of default setting, the one that you're probably going to be seeing most if you just go here without having changed it before. Skype for Business only. This is, I think I go into it in nice detail on the blog post, but basically this is determining how you want your users to experience Skype and Teams. So since they're transitioning from Skype to Teams, you can have your users use both Skype for Business, like we use Skype for Business, the Marks group. So I have Skype for Business and Teams running simultaneously, and that's fine. If you select Skype for Business only, it's not just chats and calls in Skype for Business that users receive. Users don't use Teams at all. So you just force your users to use Skype and not use Teams until you are ready for them to transition. It's generally recommended that you leave this at Islands, just so that you can allow your users to get used to Teams. It's got a very, very different look and feel than Skype, obviously. There's a lot more capabilities in addition to chats and calls. So generally it's recommended that you leave this at Islands so that your users can kind of get used to both, but still use Skype when they need to or when they want to. So that's a coexistence mode, and you can set a different. I'll just go back into the Megan user. You can set different Teams upgrade coexistence modes for different users. So if you only wanted your admins to be able to use Teams, but you wanted your regular users just to use Skype, you can set it up that way. Or you can just have everyone use islands, or just a small pilot group use islands and use both. Or you can just have everyone use the org-wide settings, which is what it's set to by default. So I think it's nice that you can kind of one-off change the settings for specific users. Would be nice, like I said, for a kind of a pilot group situation, or if you had a group of administrators or even just one administrator, and you wanted to restrict the deployment of teams for the rest of your org, that's one way to do it for sure. And in that case, you would probably, I would suggest setting your org-wide setting to Skype for Business only, and then that specific group or person to the islands mode. And that way you're just changing fewer user records. It's just less work. All right, so to recap, today we talked about audit user and admin activity from Office 365 using that cool audit log search. You can get a whole lot of detail from that, and it's super hidden, so I don't think a lot of people know that that exists. And then we talked about the new Skype and Teams Admin Center. I was just kind of showing that off earlier, and there are some other links that you can check out. Ultimately, all settings for Teams will be found here, but they're still rolling those over. And then finally, we talked about how your Teams upgrade plan will go and how you can change that or set that for your organization, and even how you can set it for specific users. All right, I hope you found this informative. If you have any questions at all, or just want to reference the blog, you can leave a comment on the blog post. I encourage you to check out the links on the blog post because they link back to Microsoft articles and they can be helpful with specific answers for stuff. If you want more information on like the migration from Skype to Teams, I definitely encourage you to check out Microsoft's articles on that. You can always email me also at megan@marksgroup.net, and I will be sure to get back to you, or you can leave us a chat on marksgroup.net or one of the blog posts. Okay, thank you so much for joining today. I will see you guys next time.